when you look at the moon, I mean, it just looks so perfectly peaceful, right? But that glowing orb is actually this 4.5 billion year old scar from, well, one of the most violent collisions in our solar system's history. Welcome to this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks. So today we're unpacking the origin of the moon. And our mission is really to trace how human understanding evolved from, early poetic metaphors and ancient religious texts, all the way to some pretty explosive scientific discoveries.
Right. I mean, before we had rockets and actual physical evidence, humanity had to make sense of the cosmos using whatever cultural tools we had available.
Exactly. You see literature treating the moon as a romantic symbol.
Yeah.
Like in Shakespeare or the poetry of Parveen Shakir.
Oh, for sure. And it's really fascinating looking at ancient religious texts, too. And, we're just impartially reporting what the sources say here, but Hindu cosmology describes the moon emerging from a cosmic being's mind.
Right, and then you have the Book of Genesis placing its creation on the fourth day to light the night. Or the Quran stating it was formed by the divine command kun to serve as a source of light and a timekeeper.
It really shows this fundamental human need to explain why it's up there. I always think of those early texts like a parent explaining the world to a child.
That's a really great way to put it.
Yeah, like it's super helpful for that era, but eventually, well, we needed a telescope. We needed physical proof.
And that massive shift from myth to physical evidence finally happened in 1969. That's when the Apollo missions brought back about 400 kilograms of moon rocks.
Which is just a crazy amount of rocks to haul back to Earth.
It is. And uranium dating on those rocks put the moon's age at roughly 4.5 billion years old. But the really crucial finding, the thing that changed everything, was that those rocks share the exact same chemical isotopes as Earth.
Wow. So it's basically a cosmic DNA match.
Exactly. It confirmed that the moon actually came from Earth. And the compositional details refine that picture even further. Like the moon has a core, but it's strangely lacking in iron.
Okay, wait. Why does that matter?
Well, planetary differentiation on early Earth had already pulled all our heavy iron down into our core. So the fact that the moon is iron depleted means it must have sheared off from Earth's outer layers after that sinking process already happened.
Hold on, though. If the moon is just a giant chunk of Earth's outer layers, why didn't it take, some of our atmosphere with it during the split?
That is a great pushback question. So because the moon coalesced from this ring of superheated debris in the vacuum of space, it just didn't have the mass to capture highly volatile elements.
Oh, I get it. So its gravity just wasn't strong enough.
Right. Anything resembling an atmosphere simply boiled off before it could be trapped by its much weaker gravity.
Okay, so that brings us to the actual mechanics of how it got up there. Science points to the Theia Hypothesis, right?
Yeah, the Theia Hypothesis. It proposes that a Mars-sized planet named Theia smashed directly into Earth. Just a massive, chaotic collision.
And that blast created a giant ring of molten debris into orbit, which eventually, clumped together to form the moon.
Precisely. And following that collision, the moon wasn't the distant, quiet object you see today. The source material notes it was actually 20 times closer to us.
20 times. I mean, that would look absolutely huge in the sky.
It's huge and highly impactful. That proximity meant its gravitational pull created ocean tides that were 8,000 times stronger than our current tides.
Wow. So just imagine massive waves constantly crashing across the planet, and all that immense tidal friction actually acted as a literal brake on Earth's rotation.
It did. It slowed us down tremendously. Earth days originally used to be only 6 to 8 hours long.
That is just wild to think about. A 6-hour day.
I know, right? And that slowing rotation drives this really fascinating physical mechanism. Because Earth rotates faster than the moon orbits, Earth's tidal ocean bulges get pulled slightly ahead of the moon.
Right, so that mass of water acts like a gravitational tow rope. It's constantly slinging the moon a little faster, which pushes its orbit further out into space.
Exactly. It's a classic transfer of angular momentum. We slow down, and the moon gets pushed further away.
So the Earth and moon are just locked in this cosmic tidal dance.
Yeah.
And it's actually still drifting away from us by 3.5 centimeters every single year.
It is. Which forces us to consider the long-term implications of this system, since that dance is still happening right now.
So the next time you look up in the night sky, you really have to remember what you're actually looking at. It's a violently forged 4.5 billion-year-old piece of your very own planet.
Yeah, and consider this thought to leave you with. If the moon is slowly drifting away by 3.5 centimeters annually, and this tidal dance never stops, What will eventually happen to Earth's oceans?
Or our rotation, for that matter.
Exactly. What happens when the moon drifts just too far away to keep us balanced? Will that ultimate symbol of tranquility eventually leave us in total chaos?
Well, that is definitely something to mull over the next time you're stargazing. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.